Politicians have joined thousands in signing a petition urging UN member states to block Sam Kutesa because of his country's treatment of gay people. The 65-year-old Kutesa is Africa's unanimous pick for the largely ceremonial role. However, critics are opposed because in February, Uganda passed a law threatening gays with life in prison. Mr. Kutesa, who's a lawyer and member of parliament, has been Uganda's Minister of Foreign Affairs since January 2005. For the umpteenth time, the government and rebels in South Sudan have agreed to end fighting and form a transitional government within 60 days. This follows a rare meeting between President Salva Kiir and rebel chief Riek Machar in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The regional IGAD bloc, mediating the conflict, has threatened sanctions if they fail to abide by the agreement this time. Previous deals to end the violence have been broken by both sides, compounding the worsening humanitarian crisis.
All the parties to work with a commitment.
East African states have threatened to impose sanctions on South Sudan's warring sides unless they cease all military operations in a conflict which has sparked fears that it could spiral into genocide. On Tuesday, leaders from the Intergovernmental Agency for Development, the East African bloc brokering peace talks, held discussions with both Kiir and Machar to push for an end to fighting ahead of negotiations on the formation of a transitional government.
The main outcome of this summit is that they agreed fully to commit themselves for already signed agreement and to complete all the negotiations within the coming 60 days and then establish a transitional government of national unity and proceed for reforming the country.
It is the first time that South Sudan's neighbors have issued such a warning, indicating growing frustration in a region increasingly concerned that the unrest may escalate into a broader regional conflict.
The IGAD member states has agreed also to follow this up. And if they don't abide to this, agreement, the IGAD as a unity, as an organization, will act to implement peace in South Sudan, and that will have different options, including sanctions and punitive actions as well.
Fighting has already killed thousands of people and driven more than 1.3 million from their homes. The United Nations has warned that 4 million people could be on the brink of starvation by the end of the year because violence had disrupted the crop planting season. Fighting erupted in South Sudan in December after months of tension sparked by Kiir's decision to fire longtime rival Machar from the deputy president's position. Deep ethnic divisions also have fueled the violence, putting Kiir's Dinka people against the Nuer of Machar.
Well, let's get more now on the story as the VOA's South Sudan in Focus host, Mr. John Tanzer, joins us now from South Sudan. John, thank you for joining us on The World Today. Now, let's just begin with the latest. Ethiopia says that the government and rebels in South Sudan, of course, have agreed to end the fight within 60 days. How meaningful is this statement, and will it have much impact, considering the fact that previous deals have also been brokered, but they have failed?
Let's just start by, addressing the meaningfulness of that deal. These two parties have signed several deals, and the implementation of it is the big question. A lot of people are wondering whether these two leaders are really serious in whatever they sign. So this latest round of, agreements that have been signed and violated, its implementation is the only answer. The deal is shaky. Its impact can only be assessed if the two parties sign and commit themselves to the terms in the agreement, because as it is now, they're just talking about things that they will do. It's not things that they have done. And so the impact, you cannot assess its impact at this time.
Well, IGAD has threatened to impose sanctions and, of course, punitive measures on both sides if they do not agree with this agreement. But how serious will this be? I mean, we're talking about IGAD. It's taken so long for the bloc to issue a warning like this.
Two parties that have entangled themselves in fighting since December are not known for responding to any threats, be it diplomatically, economic, or social threats. So the threat from IGAD sounds empty, because you cannot say we are going to impose certain actions without spelling out what actions are you going to impose on them in case they don't adhere to the agreements they've signed.
So is it really a transitional government that will work for both sides? Because there have been reports that both sides have committed war crimes. How can they overcome this and then broker peace and reconciliation?
The transitional government is one way of addressing the root causes of the crisis, which started in December. It's known that the two leaders have been struggling over power. And so any government, any arrangement that is done that will include the two leaders can address the causes of the fighting. So indeed, yes, the transition government is a temporary solution. It's not a long-time solution, but it can solve the problems.
Thanks a lot, John, for joining us on The World today. John Tanzer is the VOA's host of South Sudan in Focus. He joined us, I think, from the newsroom in Washington. We'll take a break now. When we come back, celebrating Pentecost German style. Please join us again. Welcome back. We're in Germany now, where hundreds of horsemen in the picturesque town of Bad Kötzing have kept a beloved Pentecost tradition alive. What's the tradition, you may ask? It's a Pentecost ride to the church outside the town.
More than 900 horsemen attended the annual Pentecost ride on Monday in Bad Kötzing in southwestern Germany. The biggest procession in Europe on the Pentecost weekend, it was accompanied by the Bishop of Regensburg, Gerhard Ludwig Müller. Tens of thousands of onlookers lined the way to get a glimpse of the horses, which were decorated elaborately, and the horsemen in traditional costumes. The pilgrimage led from Bad Kötzing to a church in Steinbühl, about 7 kilometers away. The mayor, Markus Hoffmann, hailed the ride for its statement of faith.
To
me, it is a huge honor to ride in the parade for the first time. And if you experience this kind of statement of faith and the many people who came here to see it, then it strengthens the faith and it is something special. According to the legend, in 1412, a priest was to bring the sacrament to a dying man in the tiny church in nearby Steinbühl. Since bandits lurked along the way, young men from the village protected the priest on horseback. After the successful journey, the lads vowed to undertake the journey annually. Women, however, are not allowed to take part in the procession. Pentecost is a prominent holiday in the Christian calendar, commemorating the descent of the Holy Spirit upon the remaining 11 apostles of Christ. For this reason, Pentecost is sometimes described as the birthday of the church. Pentecost is celebrated 7 weeks after Easter Sunday.
And on the blessing of Pentecost, we end The World today. Thanks for joining us. I am Amarachi Ubana. Stay tuned. Sports News is up next.